I'm excited that we could bring this to fruition because it's very difficult. I've been trying to do gumbo commercially for a long time.
And what makes it so special?
Just family recipes, little tricks of the trade and how slow we cook it and how much love we put into it.
That's it. That's what I was going to say.
A woman who ate Mama Tina's gumbo at the Houston rodeo started vomiting blood, developed chills, nausea, and fever, and later tested positive for Clostridium difficile, a potentially deadly bacterial infection that causes severe inflammation of the colon. Days later, she went on a live stream and said her eyes were still swollen, she was still having digestive issues, and she'd taken all kinds of medicine and wasn't getting better.
My eyes are swollen. I'm f***ed up. Extreme, I got the bubble guts. I done took all type of diarrhea medicine. All type of medicine to get better.
She wasn't the only one. A Houston man also live streamed claiming food poisoning from the gumbo. TikTok creator Erica Allies posted about throwing up blood. Multiple people reported getting violently ill after eating from the same stand.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that gumbo is what made me sick. I told you all I called the health department. It says, "Good morning, Erica. This is Justin with the Houston Health Department. I was calling to give you an update on the complaint filed against Mama Tina's gumbo at the rodeo. In short, the temporary establishment was closed due to inaccuracy between their permit application and the actual food preparation they were conducting."
And when the Houston Health Department showed up on March 16th, 2026, what they found was genuinely alarming. The gumbo wasn't being made in the commercial kitchen listed on the permit.
Thawed seafood labeled keep frozen and gumbo that inspectors say was stored in a freezer at an unlicensed off-site location. That's what's in these records that we obtained about the temporary shutdown of Mama Tina's gumbo at the Houston rodeo. According to the complaint, the customer ate gumbo in the afternoon and later reported vomiting, chills, nausea, and fever. She even said she was throwing up blood.
It was being cooked off-site, cooled down, stuffed into non-food grade orange buckets, transported to a freezer at an unlicensed location, and then moved again to a refrigerated trailer at the rodeo to thaw before being served to paying customers. No temperature logs, no date marking on food prepared more than 24 hours in advance. Bags of frozen shrimp and crab labeled keep frozen had already been thawed. Inspectors ordered every batch of prepared gumbo on site to be discarded immediately. And Tina Knowles' response to all of this? Reportedly to blame Beyoncé for not stepping in to protect her. So let me walk through this entire disaster because every single layer is worse than the last. This whole thing started because Mama Tina had been building hype around her gumbo for years without ever actually selling it. It was always this legendary family recipe, 40 plus years old. The same gumbo Beyoncé and Solange grew up eating. The one thing Tina always said she knew how to cook really well. She described it as sort of like a soup and compared it to bouillabaisse, which honestly should have been the first red flag for anyone from Louisiana, because no self-respecting gumbo cook compares their gumbo to French soup.
I made gumbo with my mom. My family absolutely loved gumbo, but it was a lot of work. It's a lot of chopping. It's a lot of sauteing. The roux, making the roux.
Can't tell you how many times I done messed up a roux.
I know. I told my girls that, I would meet a guy and I would make gumbo and he would say, "Oh man, she can throw down, she can really cook." But it was the only thing I knew how to cook. I started at the top.
But the marketing worked. When Mama Tina's gumbo finally debuted at the 2026 Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which ran from March 2nd through the 22nd, people were lining up around the corner. Two options on the menu: a $25 seafood gumbo with beef sausage, chicken, shrimp, and blue crab, and a $23 chicken and sausage version. And let's be real about what was actually driving those lines. It wasn't the gumbo, it was the Beyoncé connection. People were paying $25 for a cup of soup because Beyoncé's mother made it, and Tina knew that, which is why she leaned into it hard, even saying publicly that Beyoncé absolutely loves the gumbo. But problems started surfacing almost immediately. Tina went on record saying each pot takes 15 to 20 hours to simmer, and anyone who actually cooks, especially anyone from Louisiana, immediately called that out because you do not cook seafood gumbo for 20 hours. At that point, your shrimp is rubber, your crab is disintegrated, and the texture of everything in that pot is destroyed. The flavor profile changes entirely when you cook proteins that long. And then Tina casually mentioned that she doesn't personally cook every batch, she adds her tips and tricks, but other people handle the actual preparation.
So are you actually making this gumbo for everybody out here? You're the one putting in the hours to create this?
Well, I have two young partners, and they had the most delicious gumbo. They brought it for my book tour. And so their recipe was delicious. So I put all of my Louisiana touches and my family recipe little tricks in there and combined it. And now it's like a hybrid of both.
So the entire premise, Mama Tina's personal recipe, cooked with love, just like Beyoncé ate growing up, was already falling apart before anyone even got sick. And then people got very sick. The health violations the inspectors found weren't minor paperwork issues. This was a systematic breakdown of food safety at every single stage of the process. The gumbo was being prepared in a kitchen that wasn't on the approved permit. It was being cooled and packed into orange buckets that weren't food-grade containers. Those buckets were taken to a freezer at a location that had no health department license. Then the gumbo was transferred again to a refrigerated trailer at the rodeo grounds to thaw before serving. That's multiple temperature changes across multiple unlicensed locations with zero documentation of cooling times or storage temperatures. And when you're dealing with a protein-heavy dish containing chicken, shrimp, crab, and sausage, improper cooling is exactly how you breed the kind of bacteria that sends people to the hospital with C. diff. The food source used after the first day wasn't even listed on the approved permit. Nothing was date marked. The entire operation was essentially unregulated from start to finish, and people were paying $25 a cup for it because Beyoncé's name was attached. And the inspectors shut it down. Every batch of gumbo on site was ordered discarded. The operators cooperated, agreed to stop preparing food off-site, committed to making gumbo fresh on-site daily, and switched from a refrigerated trailer to an actual freezer trailer. The booth was cleared to reopen on March 17th, one day after the shutdown.
I hate that is on their name, that stain is on their name.
I didn't know that. I never knew.
Didn't know that. We just found out today. It just got confirmed today. They shut down on Monday and they just reopened today.
And here's where the spin started, because the rodeo described the closure as being due to clerical issues. People were vomiting blood, a woman tested positive for a potentially deadly bacterial infection, inspectors found food being transported in non-food grade buckets from unlicensed locations with no temperature logs, and the official characterization was clerical issues. That tells you everything about how much institutional protection the Knowles name carries, even at the local level. Now, rather than taking any real accountability, Tina reportedly directed her frustration in two directions. First, at the person who filed the health department complaint, framing them as someone trying to sabotage her. And second, at Beyoncé, for not stepping in to manage the crisis. According to reports, Tina wanted Beyoncé to have someone on her team speak up in defense of the gumbo, or at least do some promotional support to counteract the negative press. And Beyoncé apparently did nothing. And honestly, that silence is deafening, because Beyoncé has an entire infrastructure of publicists, attorneys, and media strategists who can shut down or reshape a narrative within hours. The fact that none of those resources were deployed for Tina's gumbo situation tells you that either Beyoncé didn't think it was defensible, or she's genuinely pulling back from her mother's ventures, and either option says something significant about where that relationship stands right now. And then Jaguar Wright got involved, because of course she did.
The whole point of this, like Cat Williams said when he sat with Shay Shay earlier this year, the whole point of this is for them in a coordinated effort to pretend like none of it is real for the public's perception. But everyone knows what's going on, and it's been going on for years.
Wright, who has been one of the most vocal and controversial critics of the Knowles Carter family for years, who appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored in October 2024, making serious allegations against Jay-Z and Beyoncé, who has had cease and desist letters sent to her by Jay-Z's legal team, used the gumbo disaster as ammunition in an interview with real-life street stars. She called Tina's gumbo a witch's brew and questioned how Jay-Z can claim billionaire status when his mother-in-law is out here making people sick.
How am I going to keep convincing people that I'm a billionaire when my mother-in-law is poisoning people with that god-awful witch's brew, and I can't get a $20 million loan from a banking institution?
She referenced the AI memes circulating online about people growing 6 toes from eating the gumbo. She dragged Matthew Knowles into it, joking that maybe this is why he had his problems. Maybe he had to get tanked up before coming home because the cooking was that bad. She questioned why a woman in her 70s is trying to compete with Patti LaBelle when the only thing she knows how to do is curl hair, put on makeup, and talk too much. And then she delivered the line that honestly ties the whole thing together. She told Jay-Z directly to go get his mama so she can stop trying to take out half of Houston. And whether you take Jaguar Wright seriously or not, her framing of this situation actually lands because she's pointing out something that nobody in the Bayhive wants to acknowledge, that the Knowles Carter family projects this image of curated excellence and billion-dollar perfection. But the reality behind the curtain keeps falling apart in public. The stand reopened, but the damage was already done. Food reviewers on TikTok were calling the gumbo dirt water. Louisiana natives were furious about chicken and seafood being mixed in the same pot, which is a fundamental violation of gumbo culture down there. One reviewer gave it a 7 out of 10, but said it was missing a proper roux, which for a gumbo that's supposedly been perfected over 40 years is a damning critique.
Rate it from 1 to 10.
From 1 to 10, I'll give it about a 5. I think mine tastes better than this, actually. But it's good. It has a lot of meat in it and a lot of, chicken and sausage.
And the lines that were wrapped around the corner on opening day, gone. The booth was sitting empty. Whatever plans Tina had to turn this into a restaurant or franchise are effectively dead now because you cannot recover a food brand from health department shutdowns. C. Diff diagnoses. And viral videos of people throwing up blood. That's not a PR problem you spin your way out of. That's a food safety crisis that should have been prevented by basic operational competence, and the fact that it wasn't tells you that the only thing holding this venture together from the beginning was the Beyoncé name, and apparently even that has its limits.